my name's Rachel and today we're here to compare Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros to EON by Alison Goodman. We are starting a new series here called Is This Worse Than Fourth Wing? Where I am comparing all the dragon fantasy books. Please do me a major solid and leave your favorites or least favorites down below so I can make a long list. The next one I'm doing is To Shape a Dragon's Breath, but after that I'll let y'all choose. But today, as I said, we're doing Fourth Wing versus EON. EON is the first book in a duology about a girl named Iona who becomes bonded to a dragon, but only because she's been pretending to be a boy. It's a little more complicated than that, actually. Is it fun? No. I'm very sorry to tell you that I did not like this book, though I was warned that that would probably be the case by the patron who requested it. You know who you are. Thank you for the warning. So no, I didn't like it, but is it worse than Fourth Wing? Let's discuss. We're going to compare these two and their use of dragons and their use of dragon bonding, and I'll tell you which that I think is better. First, I'm going to give you a rundown though of EON by Alison Goodman. Give it a review and then do the comparison to Fourth Wing. There will be spoilers, just warning you. EON by Alison Goodman. The synopsis is 12-year-old EON has been in training for years. His intensive study of dragon magic based on East Asian astrology involves two kinds of skills, sword work and magical aptitude. He and his master hope that he will be chosen as a Dragonite and apprentice to one of the 12 energy dragons of good fortune, but EON has a dangerous secret. He is actually Iona. A girl!
What is wrong with you? You can't vote for her?
Why not?
I'll give you 3 reasons. 1, she's a female. 2, she's not a boy. And 3, and most importantly, she's a girl!
A 16-year-old who has been masquerading as a boy for the chance to become a Dragonite. Females are forbidden to use dragon magic. If anyone discovers she's been hiding in plain sight, her death is assured. When Eon's secret threatens to come to light, she and her allies are plunged into grave danger and a deadly struggle for the imperial throne. Eon must find the strength and inner power to battle those who want to take her magic and her life. So the synopsis is kind of off because I felt like we were going to jump to the secret's gonna come out, it's a girl, but nobody figures out she's a girl until the end. Also, Alison Goodman, as far as I can tell, is not East Asian. I don't know exactly what culture this book is based off of. This is just sort of like a just in case, just to let you know kind of thing. I don't know if sensitivity readers were employed in the creation of this book. It's an older book, so there's fairly a good chance that the answer is no. I'm not sure if the culture being depicted here is done respectfully or appropriately. I'm not even sure which East Asian culture this is based off of. I really have no way to gauge that or if it's done appropriately. I'm just warning you that if you crack this open and are like, wow, this is disrespectful, I'm just saying that that might be a possibility. I don't know. It seems like, if you were to ask me, it seems like this might be doing a thing that is similar to like the criticism that Raya and the Last Dragon got, where some critics argued that the film sort of represented like a generalized and idealized version of Southeast Asia rather than showing its complexities and diversity, and they felt like the portrayal of cultural elements could have been better, more nuanced. So I'm just warning you that that's a thing, okay? That's all. So this book seemed to want to be doing a discussion on gender identity. My feelings on this book in regards to that is that the theme sort of went back and forth. Sometimes I felt like it was doing good work, and then sometimes I was like, oh, that's a little iffy. Our main character, Iona, disguises herself as a boy in order to fulfill her dream of becoming a Dragonite. Is it really her dream though? Or, I mean, it was really like she was taken and her master forced her to do this, otherwise she's gonna end up being like she thinks up to a certain point that she's gonna be like put back in like the mines. And it's not like she was a child yearning for the mines, it's just I don't feel like she had any other choice. It's not like I want to grow up to be that. It's just sort of like it's this or very terrible living situation. But it does have a lot of discussion about like societal expectations, self-discovery, and how gender roles are very a complex topic, and it's not just like you were born this so you are this, and again sometimes good, sometimes iffy. There's a trans woman as a prominent character, side character. Lady Gila is my favorite character, but to be honest, it's slim pickings as far as good characters go here. Everybody was just either meh or terrible, except Lady Gila. And she was explaining that she's a trans woman and that when she was growing up, she was identifying as a girl, and her mother was very accepting of this and very affirming. But then later in the book, there's a battle where it says she uses her man strength, and I was like, oh, okay. Alright, sure. In this world, if you're a man, you're more in touch with your sun energy, and if you're a woman, you're more in touch with your moon energy. Towards the beginning of the book, it talks about Eon's math. I don't even know which name to call her. Like, even that feels complicated, because if she doesn't use her true name, then she doesn't connect to her dragon, but she goes by Eon throughout the majority of the book. I'm, again, conflicted. My master had designed the garden to symbolize female energy. It was said that during a full moon, the garden would become so beautiful it could rob a man of his essence. When I heard that, I wondered what else would happen to a man who lost his essence. Would he become a woman or something else, like the shadow man of the court, eunuchs, or something like me? In this, you can see where my iffiness is at. I'm not sure whether this is doing a good job discussing gender. At a minimum, it's just sort of weirdly worded. Eunuchs, as I said, we just referenced them, they are present in this world, and they take a drug to help them stay in their sun energy. So Eon starts taking this drug as well as, well, first she starts to take a tea to stop her menstrual cycle before she does her dragon bonding ritual in order to like tap into more masculine parts of herself, because her and her master are worried that if she doesn't do this and stop her menstrual cycle, then she won't be able to bond a dragon, because women can't bond dragons, or so they believe. But it turns out that she does bond a dragon entirely because she is a woman. But she spends the whole book trying to dampen down this part of herself and become more masculine by taking this like masculine sun energy tea, and eventually she's taking way too much of it, and it doesn't work. And I don't know why it didn't click for her that it didn't work, because I felt the whole time I was like, okay, it's because you don't feel like a dude, so you're not a dude and you can't fake it. And the dragons are kind of a celestial being, so they understand that you are doing this probably, and that's why you're not bonding with your dragon. How are you missing that? This book does showcase the intersection of gender and power in a way that is like able to be understood by the target demographic, which is, you know, teens. Her having to disguise herself as a boy in order to even like try to bond with the dragon, as well as women are not even allowed to read in this world. There is something called women's script. It's like the lesser alphabet essentially. So it's just, you know, helping like this target demographic of teenagers see a patriarchal society, what that looks like, and the lengths that women have to go to in order to pursue their ambitions and have any sort of agency. And then there's the dynamics between Eon and the men and boys that she deals with. Unfortunately, this kind of comes out in a way that gives me the ick. Her master, I think, was an old man and seemed to be sort of into her. I feel like that's what it was hinting at. Like they would kind of linger a little too long, and it just, I don't understand what the point of that was. Anyway, he died, which good. I just don't understand why we didn't just make him a grumpy uncle. Then come to find out after he died, he had left everything to her, so she was never in danger of going back to the mines. And also come to find out, he had purposely had her hip broken. She thought it was an accident. He had done that on purpose in order to make her disabled, and then never told her. And then the lingering after finding out that was even like more insidious. The like lingering touches. Ugh. Why was there weird tension there? And then the villain, a fellow Dragoneye, who is the Dragoneye of the Rat Dragon, realizes that Iona is a girl and immediately threatens to rape her. I'm going to come back to this later. One of the ways that we see the theme of gender identity also explained in Eon is the idea of like gender is a performance. Iona is concealing her identity, assumes the role of the boy, Eon, and this really highlights how gender is a construct. Her being perceived as a boy makes her a boy. Gender is a perception, it's a performance, and it's also fluid. And she's constantly navigating these expectations of her that a lot of them she's placing on herself because she is a girl, but she's constantly having to challenge this notion that you are whatever your biological sex is. So I think that we're doing a fairly good job here, of talking about how we sort of assign these things as either masculine or feminine, and then whatever a person is acting out, either feminine traits or masculine traits, that's the gender that we assign to them. And then if they're not acting out these roles, these performances of these particular qualities that we arbitrarily deem masculine or feminine, we don't like it because we want people to meet the gender roles that we place upon them. So I think that it is a good introduction into like gender identity and the importance of knowing who you are and not adopting a gender identity based on what's like placed upon you. But then again, it seems like she was a woman because she was born that way in the end, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I feel, didn't we just undo all of the discussion we just did? Because she isn't chosen by the rat dragon as she had hoped. She's chosen by the mirror dragon. Wait, not the rat dragon. She wanted to be chosen by, which dragon did she want to be chosen by? I don't even remember all the dragons. This didn't really do a good job of explaining all that to me, in my opinion. She's chosen by the mirror dragon, a dragon that no one has seen in a very long time. Convenient. Turns out that Iona's ancestor was actually the last mirror dragon. Dragon Eye. The dragon wasn't her ancestor. The dragon, the person, the dragon eye and the dragon eye was Iona's ancestor. Okay, so it's in her blood. So she doesn't end up getting any sort, she doesn't even have to become an apprentice because there is no other dragon eye. So this dragon comes back after a long ass time. She's the only available person to be the dragon eye for the mirror dragon. So she's the dragon eye, but she doesn't actually bond with her dragon correctly, and she's afraid to tell anybody this. So she spends the whole book trying to deny that she is a girl, and her dragon doesn't properly bond with her, and she doesn't fit those two pieces together until the very end. And I was like, you didn't even consider? Okay. She tries to fix this by taking this like masculine sun drug. Eventually the bad guy, Lord Ito, makes a bunch of political moves because he wants to be in power. He learns that she's a girl. He breaks into her mind, which in and of itself was sort of sexually assaulty, sort of. He makes her use her own power, which was really violating, and then realizes she's a girl, and then immediately drags her away and threatens to rape her. He doesn't get away with it, but he alludes that he will later. Then Lady Gila, the trans woman who has been helping Eon, who still doesn't know until the very end that Eon is actually Iona, Lady Gila, using woman script, realizes that the mirror dragon is a female, and in order for Iona to unlock the power and really bond with her dragon, the mirror dragon, she has to give the mirror dragon's name to the mirror dragon, and the mirror dragon's name is mirroring the dragon eye, which means that the dragon's name is Iona, which I thought was really silly. And we harp on this idea that it's her true name. So her true name is her given birth name, Iona. And I'm like, but I thought we were doing the fluid thing. Okay, I just feel like we missed the mark again there at the end on what it means to be a particular gender. Your gender isn't your name. So she tells the mirror dragon, your name is Iona, unlocks the power, stops the big bad from making political moves. And then here's where it gets like creepy. While looking into his soul and his power, like the opening that connection between them like he had done to her, she realizes that much like the Grinch who had a heart 2 times too small, this man had a similar issue, and that's what made him rapey. So they go in and they fix that, like with the Grinch, and suddenly he's not bad and rapey anymore, and he's sowy. And then add on top of this like the whole thing with her master having been the one to make her a disabled person by setting it up so that he had her hip broken and then led her to believe that it was an accident. Well, she bonds to the mirror dragon finally at the end, and this fixes her hip, so she is no longer disabled, which first of all, now we have magical healing trope, which is immediately a no for me. And so we magically healed both this disability and the being rapey, which, okay, weird. But if you bond with your dragon and you're magically healed, does that mean that they should have known all the time that she wasn't bonded with her dragon because she didn't heal until after? And then if the magical healing, why didn't that fix him being rapey then? See, no. The ending of this was a mess, and it took the book from a 2 to a 1.5 for me. I don't like this book. Oh, and apparently the rapey guy is the love interest in the next book. Why? For why? All in all, I think that this would have benefited from changing it quite a bit. Like, one idea that I think would have been a good idea with this is making it multi-POV. We are mostly doing politics as like the meat of the plot. Eon is running around trying to stop the bad guy from coming into power through scheming, and if we had done multi-POV and seen other people around her involved in like this spider's web of politics, I probably would have liked this more. However, we still would have needed to address all the issues towards the end with the magical healing, the magical fixing of the rapiness, and the her name is my name because she's the mirror dragon and that's my true name, and how didn't I see this before? She wanted me to be a girl the whole time. We'd have to fix all that silliness, but we didn't, and I don't think that this book was very good. I gave it a 1.5. So let's compare the use of dragons in Fourth Wing that I gave 1 star and Eon that I gave 1.5 stars. In Eon, dragons are revered as like celestial beings. They have the power of the 12 energy dragons, which are like linked to the zodiac. So each dragon has a different aspect of like nature and dragons. So there's like air, earth, water, fire. They sort of live on another plane of existence. I don't really have a good understanding of how this works. I found it a bit confusing. They're sort of almost godlike. They aren't as involved in the day-to-day as I would have liked. In Fourth Wing, dragons are a race that share the land with humans. They revere themselves and they think of the humans as puny. They have their own ambitions, though most of the time they don't really seem to make much sense. I still don't understand why they willingly align themselves with people who want to test on their baby dragons, and then some of them don't think that those people are good, but then there's a dragon council, the Imperium, who doesn't address this. Again, I don't know why the dragons don't just enslave the humans. If I have to pick which one is better in this facet of like how the dragons are presented to us, and like what kind of being they are, I guess I pick Eon. In Eon, dragons are seen as protectors of the land and its people. Kind of. They historically have fought alongside humans against big bads and big storms, and the dragons are huge in maintaining power in this world and balance in this world. In Fourth Wing, we sort of had the same setup, kind of. In Eon, the dragon eyes channel power to stop things like huge storms. In Fourth Wing, the dragons are used to stop griffins and their riders from the opposing country, Paromial. Though we learned that the real villain isn't the griffins, it's the venin and their wyvern. But the dragons know that the venin and the wyvern are real, even though the Empire refuses to tell its people. And then the dragons sort of sometimes collude with this and then sometimes don't. It's sort of willy-nilly and not explained. I don't know why they're willing to hold up this lie with the humans that doesn't benefit dragons in any way. It doesn't make sense for them to engage in this lie with humans that they barely care about. So in the depiction of like dragons as protectors of the land, again, I guess the point goes to Eon, but barely, because dragons like holding off big storms. I'm sorry, it's not all that cool. The dragon bonding. Oh man. So such a cool idea and then can go awry so quickly. In Eon, the dragon eyes are chosen to form a bond with a specific dragon spirit, one of the 12 of the zodiac. And this bond gets them access to the dragon's powers, and they have heightened strength and senses and control over certain elements, as I said. But then I don't really understand the magical healing when you bond with your dragon, and I don't understand again how, if she was healed when she bonded with her dragon, then how did they not know previously that she wasn't bonded? How much does it heal? The dragon bond in Fourth Wing gives you access to lesser magics and a special signet power. The lesser magics to me make absolutely no fucking sense. They allow you to do things that dragons themselves don't do and don't have anything to do with. So you can unlock doors, amplify your voice, and refill pens with ink magically. I don't get it. The signet power thing is a better idea, but then we at some times say in the book the power reflects who you are at the core of your being. So for instance, the love interest Xaden Ryerson is the broody shadow daddy, so his magic is wielding shadows. Except this core of your being equals your power thing only seems to be true for like a few characters. This factoid doesn't get brought up when we're talking about people who have the ability to breathe underwater, or the Intrinsics who have the ability to read minds but have basically no control over it, so they get immediately murdered, or General Melgren, who has the ability to see the outcome of any battle, which what constitutes a battle is still not defined. Like, if that's who he is at the core of his being, does that mean that he's like at his core is incredibly nosy? I wish this core of your being thing was true for everybody. It's a cool idea, but it's also very difficult to do that for such a huge amount of people without explaining how that power is who the core of their being is. I do like the actual relationship between the bond between Violet and her dragon Tiernanog. It's one of the only good things about this book, in my opinion, is Tyrion is the grumpy old man and Violet is the young whippersnapper driving him nuts. It's cute. I can also appreciate that, like, the relationship between Sigale, who's the mate of Tyrn, and also the love interest Xaden, that's his dragon, so they're like in this, you know, little family unit. I like that she was previously bonded to his grandpa, had a connection, like saw something in him, and she's very like a no-nonsense mom calm towards Xaden. I also like that she likes Xaden and doesn't necessarily like Violet, because honestly, bitch, same. I appreciate these relationships. I honestly wish that they had more page time instead of giving so much page time to Violet thinking about how hot Xaden is, and also being super stupid and aloof and not answering basic questions or even asking them. But I think in terms of relationship between a human and their dragon, Fourth Wing wins over EON. But as far as like dragon bonds giving powers, both of them are kind of equally a bummer. So dragon politics, the selection of dragon eyes and the manipulation of the power that the dragons give them in EON are directly tied to like the political machinations in this world. So different factions are trying to vie for power, but that's the dragon eyes doing that. The dragons themselves don't seem to have any involvement in this whatsoever. I'm curious as to why dragons are willing to bond with people like Lord Ito, who's got a heart 2 sizes too small that makes him rapey. We're very much like at arm's length with the dragons, so we don't really understand why they make certain decisions, and we don't really understand their interactions with humans or their interactions with each other. These are not really revealed to us. We don't know their dynamic. I wish we'd had a better understanding than this, but it does make sense that since they are like godlike beings, that they would, you know, have us at arm's length and not really, you know, there's like debate over dragon understanding. And it makes sense that, you know, in a way, we all thought that dragons were paternalistic, but instead there's like this revered female dragon. So in a way that makes sense. It's just the lack of understanding, it's hard to like get really invested, because I'm not sitting here like in awe of this, you know, dragon shit that's going on. In Fourth Wing, the dragons work with the humans, but they are not at all beholden to them. There are older dragons who get like special powers, but I wouldn't say that they're like super in charge, because even baby dragons get a say in like Imperium gatherings. Like Violet's baby dragon and Darna got to go to a meeting of the Imperium when the dragons were deciding whether or not a human could bond to 2 dragons. The humans had absolutely no say in this. But then older dragons, like the elder dragons, have like special powers where they can discern what color a baby dragon will ultimately be, though what purpose this serves, I'm not sure. Now, we don't see these Imperium meetings with the dragons. I don't understand what the Imperium is. It's not really explained. I don't know who constitutes it, if any meeting of a bunch of dragons is considered a meeting of the Imperium, if elders get the most say. This is not explained. The dragons have said they don't answer to humans, and they seem to hold the Imperium in some regard. Some dragons have just roasted other people's dragons. I'm not sure how this works out amongst the dragons. Like, are they going to fight about this? Some dragons are bonded to people who want to test on feathertails, which are baby dragons. So I don't understand like why dragons would even bond to somebody like that, where the loyalty is, and why we didn't set it up where there's like a dragon empire, and then some dragons are breaking off from that, bonding to humans who are also breaking off from the human empire and trying to fight both empires. Instead, it's just something's happening with the dragons. There's some setup that's unexplained despite us being 2 books in, and there's a human empire with a rebellion component who are also bonded to dragons, but dragons from the same faction are also bonded to the Empire. So I don't know. The dragon politics makes really no sense to me in Fourth Wing whatsoever. So in this facet, again, both books disappoint. In the dragon cycle of life, in the world of EON, the world is sort of dictated by the existence of these dragons, and this affects the weather, the availability of magic, and there's like a balance that needs to be maintained. There are no dragon babies. There are just these celestial godlike dragons who only bond to like one person at a time. They utilize magic together, then that person's magic burns out, they die, and a new apprentice steps up to be the Dragon Eye. So there's like this very cyclical nature of this entire world that revolves around the existence of these 12 dragons. In Fourth Wing, we do have dragons living longer than humans, but they're not godlike, and they're not immortal, and they're not connected in any way to the cycle of life like that. They are connected to the land somehow, but again, I don't have a super good understanding of this. We have dragons that live longer than humans, and they bond to new humans when their former human dies, whereas if a dragon dies and they are bonded to a human, that human will die immediately. But the dragons don't seem to get much out of being bonded to the humans. It would make more sense to me if the dragons, I'm sorry to say it yet again, if they enslaved the humans, made them work for them to ensure the safety of the baby dragons. That makes way more sense. In this facet, I guess another point barely goes to EON, because I think the motivations of like the celestial dragons and maintaining this cycle of life makes sense. So when we look at both of these books' use of dragons side by side, I suppose EON wins, but not by much. I still think that Fourth Wing had the better ideas. It just failed to execute them well or explain any of its lore. EON is only winning by virtue of the setup lending itself to not having to dive into lore as much, and then failing to answer basic questions like Fourth Wing does. So ultimately, as far as dragon books go, I would recommend neither of these over the other, honestly. Even though technically EON wins, it's still so crappy that I wouldn't recommend it. One is a 1-star book, one is a 1.5-star book. I recommend skipping them both. Now, I have started to Shape a Dragon's Breath, and that is already so much better. I am barely into it. I am 15 pages in and it's already so much better. So let's hope that that's a 5-star read. I really want it to be. And let's hope that that's the dragon book that I have been searching for. Also on my list are So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole, Fireborn by Rosaria Mundo, which is somewhere up there, and His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. If you have read and liked any of those, let me know down below. I am planning to read them. Also, Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, though I've heard that the dragons kind of take a back seat in that, so I'm putting that sort of on the back burner. Ha! Burn dragons. Okay. Alright, thanks for watching. Let me know if this series works for you. I'm gonna keep doing it anyway, even if it doesn't, but let me know if you liked it. Comments and questions down below if you have any. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye. Before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Brittany Bobitney, Cami, Choco's Waiting for Not All Men podcast, Chris, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emperor's New Blues, Aaron with 2 E's, Eric, Ethel Go Lightly, Galaxy Bot, JC Murphy, Jack, Jess, Jesse, Jill, John E, Julie D, Kelly No K, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Caitlin M, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Lily B, Max B, Mixer Boneless, Alice, Panoramic Demon. Oh man, wow, that was a mouth exercise. Rachel C, Rain, Reese, SJ, Samar, Scarlet, Shadow Auntie, Shiny, SMK, Spoopy, Steph, 2 Orbit, Chai Guy, and the Salem T. Lynn. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend. So thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. And last but not least, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, and those are Alicia, Amanda, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ashley, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, Beck, Blake Lemon Pants, Blythe, Bookish Bats, Bookish Brain Rot, Bree, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin. Also, if you can hear any sort of Dragon Ball stuff going on in the background of this right now, I'm so sorry, but my kid's home. Sorry. Carlin, Casper, Kate W, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Clementine, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic, Danielle, Darren, Deborah, Diet Goth, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorian, Dorothea, Ebby, Ember, Emerald Dodge, Emily A, Emily L, Emma, Aaron, Ezra Moon, Fiona, Gadarn, you're gonna have to tell me how to say that, I'm sorry, Hannah C, Harvey Kuro, Haley, Ilianaka, India Inks, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Jessa Sue, Jillian, Jojo Bookish, Kai, Kat, Catherine, Katie, Kayala, Kendra, Kiara, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura G, Lauren G, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Lindsay M, Lisa B, Lisa L, LP Aldiver, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, MV Marlowe, Madison, Man-Eating Plant, Marcella, Marquita, Malara, Mentally Unwell, May, MK Books, Molly, James, Natalie, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penny Shilling, Foxglove, Rachel B, Reba, Rebecca, Rivi, Ronnie, Rosie Thorns, Rowan, Secoria, Sadie Selby, Sayer Riley, Sakia Lume, Samantha O, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Sarah Z, Shamed, Shannon, Sheen Onion, Sean, T Delegati, Tay, Talia, 3 Old Dogs, Tiana, Toast, Trashcan Teddy, Ty, Tito Phoenix, Wiki Cherry, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend.